what's up, legends? Welcome to another YouTube live stream. Today we're gonna unpack 3 ways to spice up your lettering. If you're bored of boring letters or dull letters or letters that are just like flat and have nothing much to it, then you're gonna enjoy this. My name is Stefan Kunz. I'm a hand lettering artist from Zurich. I teach about lettering all over, and I have an online course coming out this coming Tuesday. The official launch of my new online course, The Ultimate Lettering, is coming out on Tuesday. So mark your calendars, Ultimate Lettering online course. We're going to have a very fun, exciting launch week ahead of us that's coming up next week. So you do not want to miss it. You do not want to miss the promo time, because that's when the course is going to be at its cheapest. You are going to have the most fun. You are getting all the information, and the great thing about this course is you can take it anytime, anywhere, learn at your own pace, and rewatch all the content whenever you want. Plus you get all the course material, you get all the bonus classes, and all the good stuff that's coming ahead. So don't miss out. Swipe up or swipe up. Actually, use the link in the description below, because we're on YouTube, we're not on Instagram. Use the link in the description below, online course, and you will get access to our perhaps pre-launch. Well, not just perhaps, we're having a pre-launch party on Friday. So if you do not want to wait until Tuesday, you want to sign up there and get a seat on the front row so you can have access to that. All right, so today we're going to look at 3 ways to spice up your lettering, because hey, we're not wanting to look at boring, dull letters, but we want to see something. So 3 ways to spice up your lettering. This is how we're going to do this. So if you look at that, boring letters are dull. We don't want that. What we want is something fresh. So 3D is one way to really elevate your lettering game, is to add a 3D layer. Now there's a lot of different ways to do that, and we're going to watch this in a second. So I've usually used 4 types of 3D lettering. And so one is a simplified perspective. The other one is a 1-point perspective. The 2-point perspective, which is rarely used in lettering, but it looks really cool. It's fun to know. And also isometric perspective. I've done videos on all of these different types. I've done a lot of videos on 3D lettering that you can watch here on the YouTube channel. And also one of the bonus classes you get by actually getting the Ultimate Lettering Bundle, which is kind of like encompassing the whole Building Letters 101 and Composition Masterclass. You also get 2 bonus classes. One is 3D class, so 3D lettering, and the other one is ribbons. So if you are interested in that, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be fun for you. So I've got that all packed in there. So here we go, simplified perspective. So I'm just going to fly over that, and I'm going to add here a page, and I'm going to show you how you do a 3D letter. So the simplified version is actually very simple. So you have a letter like here. So we got an A. And what you will do actually is, with the simplified version, is you actually going to use the whole shape, and you're just going to transpose it to one direction. So you can move it up, you can move it down. So what would happen here is, if I copy this, I paste that, I would move it down here. I would move it maybe higher up. You can move it in any direction, however long you want. But all these corners, the separation of these corners, will have the same distance. So that is very important to know and to see. So if I do this here, what I'll have to do is kind of erase all these parts, the ones that are not seen in the letter, and just having that outline of the outside. Because what really happens is you will have the same lines everywhere around. The shape's not going to change in size, which is unusual, because 3D would actually tell you that a bigger size will have to shrink down. So here what I'll do is going in with a pen and kind of connect all these corners in one direction, and you'll see the simplified version tells you that all of these strokes, all of these here, have the exact same length. Now, and not just that, they also have the same angle. So this angle here, doesn't matter really how you take the angle. It can also be, just has to be between this line and the other line. Like, it always will have kind of the same angle everywhere. It's like all parallel. But not just that, all these angles will be in here, and they all will have pretty much this same length here. So if I would actually cut out this line here, copy and paste, like I can take this out and I can take this out here as well, and you'll see kind of exactly pretty much the same length. Now that is pretty simple right now, but this is a simplified version. So what you have to do, there's two ways of doing this. Again, you can either transpose it, or what you can also do is you can just draw out these lines, trying to keep them as parallel, and with practice you'll figure that out really fast. But then you can just kind of like, again, parallel lines from the letter from this side here, and it will kind of always stay parallel to the other lines, kind of like this. All right, very easy. Now I just have to move up here and kind of like, again, have the same angle. So I probably go further down, something like that. And to even add more style to it, I can just add some shadows on the bottom elements, kind of like where the light would not hit or reflect. And so those are some easy ways to already elevate your letters. Now, let's look at just one more. So the two most used styles of 3D is the simplified version and the 1-point perspective. I'm not gonna go into much details on the 3rd and 4th point, but the ones that are used the most are the 1-point perspective and the simplified. So here's a second version. So we're gonna draw this a little bit out, a little bit smaller, and I'm gonna tell you why in a second. So here I have the outline of the A, and I'm gonna actually save this for later, copy. Now the 1-point perspective, as you know, 1 point, so what do we do with this 1 point? So the 1 point, doesn't matter where it is, you just set the point somewhere, and then all your lines. Now I'm just gonna turn this around, and I'm gonna try to draw straight lines, and maybe I can even use this tool here to draw strong lines here, and they will all go into one direction. Now, it's not maybe the best point where I've put, let's put the point a little bit lower, kind of like this. And so they will all converge into one direction. Now, the other principle is still the same. So this other principle means that those lines will still be parallel. So I can actually go very far, and then you'll see those lines will be parallel here. So I'll go up there. Maybe this would have been also over here. So maybe not exactly the way I drew it. And then here, this one is a little bit more difficult to get, but pretty much this way. Now I can erase all these lines back here. And I'm still gonna let this dot, this 1 point at the bottom here. But as you can see, the size of the A has shrunken down, which is pretty much more realistic in the sense of 3D. So it gotten smaller here. So if we would have to redraw the A would be this size here at the end. And because it's getting closer to us over here, it's gonna increase in size. Like any object, like my finger here is a lot smaller than if I get it right in front of the camera, then my finger has a bigger proportion because it's closer to your view, to your eye. So that's why we have to look at all of these things combined. So those are the two main ones that you would find in lettering. Let's see if I can show you an example that I have. Actually, I'm sure that I have something in my gallery where I've been using this. So for example, here, we did this online, so you'd find this on a YouTube video in my channel. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do that right now. You can also just click somewhere, I think over this way, at the bottom right corner, you can tap subscribe and you're subscribed to the channel. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and you'll always get some free content. So if perhaps the online course is too expensive for you, you can still get free content, get a taste, a sample of what it's like to get like the online course. Of course, we've packed a lot of great stuff into the online course, just saying. But again, here, this is where you have the exact same size. So what I did here is just transpose the whole lettering and use, again, the same method to do that also smaller. Let's look at one where I use a 1-point perspective or some form of 1-point perspective. I'm sure that I have something, perhaps here, more likely in other parts. This is definitely more of a 1-point perspective. So the heart here, all these lines will converge into 1 point. The unusual thing about it is that the conversion point of the lower word here is pretty much up here. So all these lines will kind of like follow this line. And so you kind of feel like the perspective point will be up here. But from the heart, all these lines will converge more lower here. So it is 1-point perspective, but a little bit tricked in a way or another. Doesn't matter, it works. So let's look at the next part. So 3D letters is one thing that you can really elevate your letters. So you do not actually have to learn how to draw your letters in a different way, but what you can do is really elevate your lettering by just adding a third dimension. So just adding another axis, a beautiful thing, giving it a more touch of realism. And then if you really want to go further into 3D lettering, you can look at shadows and lighting. And shadows is the first part, lighting is the second part, and then your mind's gonna get blown because it's such a huge place to look at and to really expand your skills. All right, we looked at 3D letters. Let's look at emboss. Emboss is also really cool because embossing your letters will stylize your letters and add an extra touch. So again, has the same idea and principle than 3D has. It has some shadows, some light effects, and all of this. So this all adds a lot of depth to your lettering and also stylize your letters in a beautiful way. So of course, when you talk about emboss, a lot of people think that there's only one style of embossing, but no, there's actually a lot of different styles. So if we look at only just a few, so we got like a 2-color rounded. So rounded means that like these corners up here are rounded, and you can stylize these more. Like if I specifically chose the P here because it has round elements, it has straight elements. So here you only have like 2-color, very clean cut. Here you have still 2 colors, but the cut is a little bit more stylized and has some round ways to it. Then we have the gradient, more realistic, more less harsh lights, less stylized, but more kind of realistic, softer edges. And again, here the gradient touches makes it look amazing in my opinion. Then we have the 4-color touches here. So this actually means that you will have some gradients over there. And you will kind of like color all of these in a different way. So you can even use colors, and let me see if I can find you a finished piece. So here's, for example, one embossing as well. Oh, and we did here, this one too. So this one is also kind of like rounded, but still like a little bit of gradient over here. As you can see, this one has some glow and effects on it, stippling to use. But the idea and principle is very, very easy. So let's look at how embossing works. So a lot of people would say or assume that embossing works just with kind of like monoline letters, which is not true at all. So let's look at that. So we usually would say, so let's see if we can just take up a letter. And let me just make this one here a serif styled P. So having already a great base for a letter is a great start. You don't have to have that, but it's always good and helpful. And what you can do here, and maybe I just want to liquefy here the bottom. So increase that size. Something like that. That looks good, right? And maybe I just need to kind of address this part at the bottom. So freeform, make that straight. And let's cut that here. So let's look at how we can do embossing. So embossing is really simple. What you need to do is to split up the letters. So splitting it up means you go through the middle here, and you do that same thing here with the rest of the letter. And if you're having trouble to do that, what you can do is also just start by, all right, what is the middle from this point? What is the middle from this point here? And you go always in. And so that's kind of like if you're really bad at it, you can just add more points and all that. And then suddenly you just need to follow these. But again, it's a great way to practice also drawing inside here. And there we go. And here as well. Here, this is just my way of doing it. You can do it the way you want it to do it. So something like that. That looks really cool to me. And now the next thing is you actually start to connect all the corners. So that works if you have like hard edge corners, kind of like here and here. And here we're gonna follow this line, and then we're gonna connect these corners at the end, maybe these here and these here. You can add some corners in here if you want to. You can also just like give us all these corners you want to give. Totally up to you. I'm actually free balling it right now. And then again, I can start coloring. So you basically have a cube here that is split up, or if I kind of like make it longer, it will help you to see that. So split up in the middle, connected all the corners, and now I can decide where the light comes from. So one side here would mean it comes from the top left, so these sides, because if you look at from the side, kind of like a house, like this is the top of a house, so you kind of would like get that. So this is Google Earth, Google Maps view from the top. And so if you look at the house will look like this. If you look at the house from the side, it will kind of look more like this. So in the middle, all that. So if the sun is coming up on this side, it will hit these two sides, and these sides will be in the shade, so they will not see any lights. And so that's kind of like how you define what side does have light and which one doesn't. So I'm gonna just merge this down. And so what you can do is, again, you start by tapping in. So I'm saying that the light comes from this side. So I'm just trying to find out where I want the light to hit. So again, top and right side will always be in the shades here. And like this and this. And so the rest here looks like it will be in the shade. So now what I can do is I can again add some gradient style here, gradient over here, gradient on the bottom part here, and so on. Maybe even give it a little gradient touch back here. And you can see there's so many different ways to do that. Again, it doesn't have to be a specific type of letter, like it doesn't have to be a monoline letter, but there are so many different ways that you can do that. And again, I did it with this type of lettering, so this one is definitely not monoline, but with a monoline like this one here, actually is a little bit easier. And again, if you look through all these different options, like a stylized, you can add some different touches, like a subtle shade. Like a subtle shade is one of the things that I did on a recent post of mine. So if we look back on this one here, where I misspelled separate, and I misspelled something today as well, acquire. Apparently, I'm very bad at spelling, and even though that I've learned a lot in lettering over the last 6 years, I haven't really done much progress in spelling. So, or even doing spell checks. That's weird. Okay, my camera just turned off. Let's see if I can get it back on. Perfect, we're back. So perhaps my camera just died on me. Wow. All right, something is going on with my camera and I do not know what it is. Let's see if I need to unplug quickly the battery, making sure that it's all connected really well. See, I need to upgrade my equipment at some point, but there's something not working all the way right. Let's see how long this will work. So right now it's working. So let's just go with it and see how far we get. Okay, so that was tip number 2, embossing. Embossing is always a fun way to add styles to your letters. And let me see if I can find I actually had one specific type in mind that I created. It's not in here. I'm just going through all of my sketchbooks. Oh, there we go. I think I found it. Here, Risk. If you can see that really well over here, Risk has like 4 different shades of one color. So what you can do is really to get different colors. And again, I just let the upside here free. And I did this in multiple ways. I also did it here. Refresh. He who refreshes, others will also be refreshed. So again, here, different types of, like, there's a purple, a bright pink, a red, and a blue. So kind of like different colors. And you get 4 different shades, which is also really awesome to do. So try this at home. Feel free to try out embossing in different ways. Like, be creative in how you express yourself with embossing. Don't just use one style. Believe that there's just one style. Really try out new ways, new types, and see how far you get and how far you can go with that. Okay, let's look at the next one, which is inlines. Inlines is actually pretty similar to embossing, and so I kind of like take you from 3D, which is a 3D, third-dimensional way of drawing, to embossing, which is 3-dimensional but also has inlines, and then finally inline. So it's kind of a nice stepping stone way to get there. So inlines also sound very boring, but it's extremely powerful what you can do with just a line inside. Because one, it's actually every letter, the way you build letters is pretty much by starting with an inline, by just drawing out the shape of the letter with just a basic stroke. Then you add on everything else. So the inline is actually really, really important. So let's look at types of inline. So here we kind of have like the inverted inline outline pretty much. So you just have the outline, so it's a super thick inline. But then we also have the dotted inline, which is kind of like just adding dots. It's great if you want to add like light bulb style of letters. So all of these dots could be light bulbs inside of a real 3D existing letter. We have the traced inlines. I actually didn't figure out how I could call this, but it's kind of like a stitched, traced line that just has like just small little gaps. We have the double inline, which is kind of like the double way of doing something. The thin inline, the thick inline, so it's kind of like thinner than the outline, but thicker than the thin inline. This is one of my favorites too. It's kind of like Aldi. I don't know if you guys have Aldi in your country, but I grew up in a country, I'm from a country, my nationality is German, so that's where Aldi is from. And so Aldi was always in our lives, and this kind of like a lot of different lines is all around. And then we have here a gradient inline, so not even drawing the full outline or the inline, but really just then using stippling or gradient way to kind of like fill it out, to add some touches to that. So again, a lot of great ways to draw that out. And then finally, this one is kind of like special. It's not a centered inline, and it's also not just full, but it's just adding some glow effects to that. So that's also drawing an inline inside. So how do you do that? Again, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can implement that. The coolest way is if you think about it, of how you can actually come up with all these different styles, trying to incorporate different elements around you, like inspiration. Like in my course, I talk about inspiration as that's the foundation where we start. We start with inspiration, we get inspired by something, we learn how to dissect it, how to use it. we learn how to dissect it, how to use it, and then how to kind of grow from that. So kind of adding new steps, adding new elements, and work around that. And then kind of like keep on going with that. So these are all inspired from different ways of doing something. And again, a lot of cool elements. Let's look at one last thing, which is pretty much the bonus here in this episode. What else we can do with letters. So let's go back to this one here. So let's see if I have a boring, I'm not just gonna say boring, but if I have just a letter like any other, I'm getting here the letter builder first. So this is a tool that I use all the time. Maybe you're new here and I want to introduce you to that. So this is letter builder. This is a tool. Actually, the way I created this tool is actually the way I explain how this course works, because I really have learned a lot about that. And kind of the course is, the letter builder was kind of like born or birthed through this course, through this idea of teaching. So let's see, I have here my 5 favorite brushes, which is another video that I'm gonna do. If you guys let me know in the comments if you wanna see that video, like what are the 5 brushes that I use the most. Let me know in the comments below if you wanna see that, and let me do that, a video for that. I don't think this is a live stream, but this is a great video to do and to share. But let me know in the comments what you think. So here we go. I will draw a letter from one of our subscribers here who's looking at it. We have, what is Van Lichtervelde Morgan. Morgan, so we're gonna take an M, for example. All right, so we're drawing here the M. So right like this. And now one of the ways that when I draw out a letter like this, like I'm like, all right, this is great, but it's not that special. So one way that I like to do something is always kind of like point, like add some points to it. So let's fill this out with a color. And what I will do is like make these kind of like adding small serifs, but not too strong, just small enough to just accentuate the edges and to make them stand out a little bit more, kind of like this here, and doing that on all the sides. And what that does is actually it will make your letter stand out so much more. It's such a small detail, I think, but because of the optical way of you seeing something, just accentuating that. I should have done that in 2 ways. Let me copy this one here. No. Copy the layer. And so this is a neat little trick. There we go. Let's paste the letter. So now, here we go. This is the differentiation of the letter. So it will just make the M a tiny little bit stronger. And this is one way you can do that. But you can also really transform all these elements. For example, let's see, let's duplicate this one here. And if you use the liquefy tool, make that a little bit stronger. Maybe too strong. But by kind of like rounding it up, you can already create like different types of letters, like playing around, like do not be afraid of messing up that letter. Like you can play around, see like what happens if my lines have this type of stroke, of this type of lines. And then you play around with that. Then you go around and you go like, all right, like what else can I chip away and see like how far can I go? All right, just like this. And so I can go further and further and further. I can even say, like, what if we went all the way down, like further down here. And you can see this M already looks totally different if I place them side by side. Excuse me for my voice that feels like it's drying out right now. As you can see, you already changed the style of the M. You add some touches by just playing around, chipping away, adding some curves, adding some elements to it, and you can see there's so much you can do. So again, lettering doesn't have to be boring. You can come up with all kinds of different letters. There's so much you can do with letters, and there's so much you can play around with it. So just as an example, if I show you one of my pages here, kind of like this here, you can see there's so many styles you can add to your lettering. And what I really want to teach you in this online course, in the Building Letters 101 course, is to help you discover a lot of new different styles, a lot of new ways to draw letters, and coming up with your own ways of drawing letters, like something that you haven't seen before, but you can kind of like pick and choose elements and like bring them into your lettering. I want you also to help you with composition, so you do not have to be afraid of composition anymore, that you can really be excited about tackling any type of project that is set in front of you, that you are not afraid, as I was when I started out, but you really can just enjoy the process. So again, guys, remember, if you want to learn more about lettering, sign up right now to get a front row seat for the pre-launch party on Friday, for the Zoom pre-launch party, and to hear also my story behind how I came up to create, what challenges did I face when I left the bank, what did I have to learn over the years. And like, again, the talk is titled Create Art, Not Excuses. And this is the talk that I'm going to have with you guys in a Zoom chat. So I'm really excited about that. Plus, it's going to be a fun weekend. So you can already start learning this weekend. You do not have to wait till Tuesday if you sign up right now. Plus, you get the best discount available possible. And so I cannot wait to get this course into your hands so that you can start learning, getting better, and create your best work yet. Can't wait for that to happen. And so I'm excited that you were here, that you had some time here. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you have any question about the course, let me know there too. And I'm gonna be a lot more on doing more lives on Instagram next week. I'm not gonna miss you guys out on YouTube too. I'm gonna do that as well. But I just wanted to tell you guys that I want to be helping others with their lettering during the launch week, to help you guys elevate your game, create your best work yet, make sure that you are not struggling anymore, but you have the tools necessary to get good. And so I cannot wait to do that. And so until then, hope that you are having a fantastic time, that you guys are creating, you guys are making awesome stuff. And I'm excited for tomorrow, when I'm going to launch with my Patreons first. So if you're a Patreon, do not miss out the Zoom call. If you want to still become a Patreon, you can still do that. You can touch on the link. I saw somebody already just sign up right away. And so I'm really thankful for every person who supports this channel, this YouTube channel. And again, if you buy the course, you're also supporting me and the business and the people that work for me. So you're already contributing. But most importantly is that you are learning, you are helping yourself and investing into your own skills, which is what I am mostly about. And if you see again in the background here, maybe I have to zoom out a little bit. We create to inspire others. There we go. This is the motto, the thing that I am most excited about, is that we create to help others and inspire others with their lettering. So I hope that you enjoyed this live stream. Give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check out all the other videos if you want to learn more, if you want to not wait until tomorrow or the day after or till Tuesday. It's going to be exciting, and I cannot wait to see you guys soon. All right, bye guys.